Hello and welcome back. I hope you're doing well. I hope everything in your life is going well. And if it's not going well, and if it's getting tough, or if things are seeming to go south, it's going to turn up at one point. Because the story that I'm about to tell you hopefully should inspire you and give you some motivation on, how to look into life and things that you should do in your life and, always keep your chin up and keep moving forward. So, as you can see from the title, this is actually going to be a personal story that has happened to me in my life that I've learned a lot and that has shaped me to who I am today. And that is the story of how I got kicked out at the age of 18 and how I had to fend for myself, how I had to survive, and basically learn to become a man. Right? And in fact, learn to become an adult as well. So I want to take you back to, I guess you could say, November of 2010. Okay. So at this point, I was in my first year of university, and basically, my parents were married for about like 20 years now. I was 18 years old at the time. And basically, what happened was, my mom and my dad, they were going through a lot of, various different discussions about, separating, divorcing. Basically, things were working out. My mom was trying to go her own direction. My dad was trying to go his own direction. Um, and basically, things came to a point where my mom left the house, and it was official in December of 2010 that she decided to leave. That's like the end, basically, like after Christmas type of thing. So before the new year began. At that time, my dad was overseas visiting family, and I called him and I said that, you know what, I think you need to cut your short. I mean, your trip short, um, because this is what's happening at home, and you need to come home and figure things out. So he comes home, and basically the whole household, um, it was just my brother and I. My dad comes home. My mom's not there. He's obviously going into depression as well and whatnot. And there's a lot of backstory between my parents of like, them being a very compatible couple or lack of compatibility rather. Um, and as time goes by, it gets clear of why that happened. Anyways, so fast forward a little bit in that year, so things are trying to like, we're trying to obviously. I'm living at that house because the thing is like I don't know where else to go. My mom went back to my grandma's house and my uncle's house, so that was that case. And there's a lot of divorce proceedings happening, legal stuff that's happening and whatnot. So in the summer of 2011, so this is like 6 7 months later, um, I said to myself, I need to find a job, right? I need to fend for myself. I think I'm old enough to obviously have a job. I'm 18. I'm in my first year of university. I just completed my first year. Um, and I just need to focus. I need to focus on on myself, my school, and my parents are gonna do whatever they can with themselves, but I need to like look after myself. So I tried finding work, and eventually, what happened was that I found a job at a dollar store, which was like 20 seconds away from where I live. Um, and basically, it was part time. I was responsible for opening the store. I was a cashier role, cash job type of thing. And I was still looking for work because it was summertime, and I was like, I have so much time on my hands, and I did not want to stay home. Reason being is because the environment was so negative. It's always consistent of like, depression and that feeling of anxiety and whatnot. I was just like, you know what? I need to keep myself out of the house. The only time I want to come home is just to crash, is just to go to sleep. Eventually, I did find another job in another location where I lived. It was about 20 30 minutes bus ride. Anyways, it was a call center job, and I had a full-time gig, so I was working there from 2 to 10, and the, dollar store job was, like, 8 AM to, like, 12 PM, so it was part-time, so I was working full-time and part-time, and I told my father about that job, because obviously, that's a longer period of time that I'm gonna be out of the house. I said, "Okay, I'm gonna tell him about that." Anyways, my father tells me then, "Okay, whatever you're earning from that job, you need to give it to me. Everything, 100%." And I looked at him and I'm like, "Wait, how's that, Pop? Why are you asking me that?" I mean, like, I could contribute to some bills, but I need to save up money for myself too, like, getting a car, getting other things, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is my life, I need to build up, right? I said to myself, "You know what? I'll let him be because I already have the part-time job at the dollar store. So let him have this check. I can keep the 4 hours check to myself. So I'm working that like 3 times a week. I could keep it to myself." So that's what I decided to do. Anyways, fast forward, I guess you could say in August, late August. Basically what happened was a family friend came to the dollar store that I was working at. They were very happy to see me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you finally got a job. You're working here. It's good for you that you're working." They don't know what's happening in my life. And I did not tell my father about this. So guess what? That later that evening, I come home. Okay. And I remember it was a Saturday. So I'm not working at the call center on Saturdays. I come home. My dad's absolutely pissed off. Like you can literally see by his face that he's angry, he's upset. Like there's a lot of things running in his head. Like you can tell by his body language. And he's like, "You did not tell me about this job that you worked at the dollar store." I'm like, "Well, the thing is that I wanted to keep that for myself. That money that I was making, you're literally taking the whole check that I'm giving you, working 8 hours at that other job. I want to keep this for myself." And basically, we got into a fight about why that is, blah blah blah. Anyways, so long story short, he says that, "Listen, I need that money too." And that's when I had an argument with him. I said that you can't just keep taking money from me, right? You can't just do that, right? Like this is unrealistic. Like I'm growing up, I need to know how to save up money and whatnot. And then basically gave me an ultimatum. He said that you either give me all of the money that you make, or you get the hell out of my house, right? And basically, I said that, well, I can't give it to you. That's not fair, right? And then he's like, okay, we're going to be out by the end of this month, before the end of next month, which is September. And I remember I sold my PS3 at the time, and it was a backwards compatible PS3. I had a lot of games with it as well. I sold it because I needed money for the bus to go for job interviews. He even took that money as well. But anyways, um, I literally had to like swallow literally my pride, my ego, and face the fears of getting kicked out. And I did. Eventually, I left. It was on the second day of September. I left the house. I packed just 2 suitcases. I had my laptop and whatnot, and I actually moved into his friend's basement. I literally told him on the side, my dad's kicking me out. And, everybody in life, you'd realize that they start taking advantage of you one way or another. Like this friend was a close friend of our family. Instead of him trying to convince my dad and saying, "What the hell are you doing with your son?" He saw me as a way of getting extra money. And I said to him, "I'll pay you." Right. Even though it was like $200, $300, but it was an unfinished basement, had no kitchen, had nothing. Okay. And I remember was leaving the house. My dad watched me leave. Okay. And the taxi guy came over there. And I remember the taxi was so damn expensive. It was like 30, $40 or some shit like that, or $50. I don't know how much it was just to even go for like 10 kilometers, which was ridiculous. Still remember that. Freaking taxi drivers, man. Anyways, no disrespect to any of you guys. Um, I remember my brother was sitting on his computer playing video games, and he literally did not give a shit of me leaving. So that sat in my heart. Now this is that when I was 18, okay? So I remember this. This is about what? 15 years ago? 15, 16 years ago, okay? Now I'm 33 years old. All right? Now, I remember I moved into my dad's friend's basement, which was unfinished. I still was doing my jobs. And I went through a series of depression. I cried in my bed. I literally wet the friggin' pillow. I did not know what I was doing. I had no car. I only knew how to use the bus. And the only thing I could have was my job and myself. And I was eating outside because I did not know how to cook. So, anyways, basically what happened was, I guess in October of 2011, my dad's friend tells me, "Hey, I'm trying to finish this basement. I want you to move out. I think you should find some other place." I said, "You know what? No problem." Right? So I started looking elsewhere, and I'm like, "You know what? I need to get back to university," because at that point I was supposed to be in my second year, but I dropped out because I couldn't focus. How can you go to school with all this shit happening around you, right? Now in Canada, we have a system where we are able to use loans like OSAP. We call it OSAP here. Ontario Student Assistance Program. I think that's what it stands for. Um, so basically, for people that don't have an income that's good enough for them to go and pursue post secondary studies, they use this as a loan, and then you pay the government back over time. Still paying it to this day, but anyways, that's a different story. Um, so I literally went to university. I said, "This is what's happening. I need to find a way to get back into the program." And they actually made me leave the program and withdraw from the university, and they made a mistake, and then eventually, they brought me back into the program for January of 2012. So that was when I was coming back to school, and I remember, when I moved into that new place of mine after that basement incident, I moved into a place where it was near my university, so I could literally walk to school, right? And the rent was like $400 a month. I remember I was making good enough money, like even past that to even like save up for myself and whatnot. Um, and I made some friends obviously along the way, and they helped me. And I learned that even people that are not even related to you, they're not even blood related to you, they will save your life, and they act more like family than your own family members. I remember, in fact, I think it was in December or January, like December 2011 to January 2012, I try to get back to my dad, and I try to, like, restart the relations again and be like, "Hey, I know I moved them into my own place, but I want to have a relationship, obviously, my father and stuff." And he was still the same idiot. He was still the same asshole, trying to figure out a way to bring me back in so he can take more money and whatnot. And basically, that's literally was like, okay, I can't live with this man. So I have to find another way to, like, fend for myself. So I continued to stay in that house that I lived in, and that house was actually not on res, but it was outside. And basically, it allowed me to pay cheaper rent, walk to the university campus, and live the rest of my years until I graduate university. Um, Eventually I did fall into some wrong people, some bad, people that came into where my life at that time that actually used me, and you know, they're no longer part of my life. I don't have any connection with them, but this is when I was obviously in my university days and whatnot. Um, Anyways, at one point I did move back in with my father in 2016, and reason being was because I did hear my father get a heart attack. He had a heart attack in January of 2015. I did not know about this. I found out eventually. So I moved back, and basically my brother was married at the time, obviously, and like because of his age, and his wife was coming from overseas. So I was living with my father, my brother, my his soon to be wife that was coming. It was a two-bedroom apartment. So two bedroom, one bedroom is gonna be for my brother and his wife. One bedroom is gonna be for my dad and myself. And that's when problems started coming in again. Money problems. Problems about why you're not giving us money. Why you're not paying more rent. I remember I didn't even have my own room. I couldn't even breathe. That this right here, this whole setup right here, is a dream to me. For me to even record myself, to play video games and whatnot, to have the freedom to do this is actually a dream to me, right? And I'm so blessed to be in the position that I am now. Um, but throughout that time when I was by myself, I literally was getting advice from strangers of how to live life, how to pay your taxes, what jobs are the best jobs for students. I was doing retail sales, and then I got into security doing night shifts because that was 12 hours a night, and I could work like 3 days in a week and make 36 hours, and that was more than enough for me. Even though it was minimum wage, it was 3 days. I would work Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. Rest of the time was school and just having fun, right? Enjoying my life or having the best fun that I could. So, anyways, now a big reason why I moved back with my dad as well is that I wanted to get married at one point and find a spouse for myself. Now, in my culture, in my background, if someone is seen as someone being alone, they don't have any family and whatnot, and they're just by themselves. And imagine you reach out to the girl's father or the girl's family, like, "Hey, I want to marry your daughter," right? Do you think that that family is going to be giving their daughter's hand to me? No, it's not going to happen. It's a stranger, right? Like literally no backing of anything whatsoever, right? So I had to swallow the pill, and it still angers me to this day that he used that, right? He used that excuse to abuse the shit out of me in regards to finances. And if he's watching this video, I know like if he might stumble upon this and whatnot, if he's watching this video, he would deny it. He would be like, "Oh, how can he talk about this about me and whatnot?" And I just can say with the good head over my shoulders is that he's just full of shit. He's absolutely fucking full of shit. I'm sorry. And I pray to God that anybody who has a shitty ass father or shitty ass parents, you're literally better off on your own. Don't even fucking think about going back and talking to your parents if your parents abandoned you at a time that they needed you ever, right? You This is why I made that video last time about lonely men, alone and lonely men. You need to know how to be your own biggest fan, your own supporter, yourself, right? And basically, I remember I'm still even recalling this right now. I remember there was a time I was living with my dad. My brother wasn't working, and even though he should have been working because he has a wife, okay, I'm literally paying the rent and I'm literally paying the bills and whatnot. And I remember credit card companies asking me, "Hey, you need to make a minimum payment." I'm like, "I have no money. What am I supposed to do?" Right? So, anyways, I literally said to myself, I'm going to pay less this time. I'm going to pay like maybe half, maybe 75% of what I usually pay so I could pay these credit card companies off. And my dad, out of all the months that I've paid full rent, he remembers those 3 specific months. And he says that you did not pay us. You did not give us anything. And we had a fight over the phone. At the time, I was not living with them because I was getting engaged and I moved out and I needed to move out to save money because I knew that if I stayed with them, I wouldn't save money. That's the thing. So, anyways, it's just been a roller coaster ride in my life that finally I, moved on. I'm now a father and, thank God I have, loving wife, supportive in-laws, supportive, friends around me as well from my wife's side and people that have been coming into my life as well that excuse me, understand who I am. And it's just been a crazy roller coaster ride. And I remember last time I spoke to my father was about a year ago, I believe it was a year ago. And basically what happened was um my brother, my 2 nephews, because they had 2 kids now, and my sister-in-law, which is his wife, they were going overseas, and he wanted to go overseas with them to that same country, and he did not have the funds for it, and I felt bad. I don't know why I felt bad, and I said, "You know what? I'll buy you a ticket." And I know people are gonna be watching this. I know you're gonna be watching this as well, saying, "Hey, you know what? You deserve this. Like, you literally got into like, sunk yourself even without not learning the lesson of the previous things before." And I said to myself, "You know what? I'm in a better position than I was before, and I'm in a stronger position." And I'm like, maybe I could like indirectly kind of teach him like this isn't how people can be. He took it as an advantage and he's like, I remember him telling me, "Oh, when you told me that you were gonna buy me my ticket, I felt like I had wings. I could fly anywhere." And he's like, "You know what? I'm not gonna go to that country. I'm gonna go to England and see my cousins. Or I'm gonna go to US or I'm gonna go here and there." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm only paying you that ticket for that destination because you wanted to be with your grandkids and your son and your sister your daughter-in-law." Anyways, so for some reason it didn't go through. He decided not to go because no one wanted to take care of his ass because everybody knows he's fucking toxic. So, anyways, a couple months later, um, he starts to create an argument. And remember, my wife and I we live in our separate area, separate apartment, separate condo in a different area. He made a whole issue that hey, you did not invite me once to your house once when your brother was gone for a month. And I was like, well, here's the thing, right? I go to the office. My wife is hybrid. Okay. We don't have the space for you to like to entertain you. We come home tired. You want to be entertained. You want to do this and that, whatever. And he's basically telling me like, you should allow me to come into your house. And I'm like, why? He's like, because, just because. And I was just like, wow. And then he caused a whole argument about that, which kind of subsided. Anyways, the main reason why I cut ties with him, in fact, he cut ties with me this time, was my sister in law got into a fight with him. And basically, my sister in law's, she's a piece of shit too, by the way. Just saying that. Um, her father passed away when she was young. Okay. And basically, what happened was that she had a fight with him about something. And then basically, he said to her, "Why don't you take it something from me?" Or like he did make like a sexual remark or harassment or something. And she threw her phone at him. And when I heard the story, I kind of chuckled a little bit. I was like, okay, now she's getting the treatment that I got. So it's not a me problem, clearly. And I knew that. It's a definitely him problem. And basically, what happened was she called me. She said that I do not want to live with your father. Your father's this, this, and that. I called my dad. I'm like, what's going on? Why are you doing this? He's like, let me show you some pictures. Let me show you some pictures. This is what she hurt me. And it was like a small bruise, but I was like, you know what? You did say something that would piss anybody off. Like you literally insulted her dead dad, right? And anyways, so I said that listen, I think you should go to your brother's house, chill there for like a month, maybe whatever. They even wanted to welcome you in anyways, whatnot. Do that. Let the situation cool down, whatever, and we can work things out, whatever, right? Anyways, because I texted him that and I was very adamant, I kept saying it again and again, whatever, do it, do it, do it. He blocked me. Okay. So this is a person that he blocked that was willing to spend money on a ticket for him to go on vacation. Remember that. Okay. So ever since then, I cut ties with him. Like I said, I'm like, I'm not going to reach out back to him. And my sister in law, the reason why she became different was because a few months later, I remember we were at a restaurant and I was very dead tired. Like I was working and I drive a long distance to my office and I had so many back-to-back meetings that week. And I remember we were meeting up for dinner and I didn't talk to her. I just talked to my brother because I was so exhausted. And my sister-in-law was talking to my wife and the two nephews were there and we're just like in that restaurant, whatever. And I remember we went to a place to grab bubble tea. And I remember my brother lost his job at that time. And I said, you know what? My place is hiring. If you want, I can get you in. And my brother's like, you know what? I'll let you know. And I was like, wow, okay, you're not going to take my help. Anyways, so a week later, I got sick. I got really sick. I got bronchitis. I had a fever and whatnot. And I was bedridden. And I told my office, I was like, hey, I want to work from home. I'm really sick. Or I'm going to take off, actually. I took some days off as well. So uh, my sister in law messages me. She's like, how are you? How are things? Whatever. And then she says that, hey, I want to talk to you about that day that you went to the restaurant with us. You don't have a clean heart. If you're gonna meet us and with a clean heart, at least talk to us, whatever. I lost it. I said that listen, whatever you're thinking, you're overthinking yourself right now. And that's not what it is. I was just excuse me, I was just very, very tired. And that's why I didn't talk. If you want to make an argument or issue out of this, I'm not interested and I don't want to entertain this conversation. Right. She's like, "Oh, you don't need to be rude and whatnot." And I said, "Listen, at the same time, I don't want to argue. I don't want to entertain your this conversation. If you want to talk like this, I'm not in for it." She blocked me. Okay, so now the trash took itself out, basically, right? And at that point, my wife saw this, my mother in law saw this, my brother in law, everybody saw this. They weren't surprised. They knew what they were, especially during the whole wedding preparation with my wife and I. They were hardly involved. They didn't even give a shit, to be honest. So it was more like, okay, the trash shook itself off, and my wife was pregnant. She was due in 4 months. They did not give a fuck at all. That this is what they're doing with me and my wife and stuff like that. Anyways, this July, my wife gave birth to my daughter. Okay. And basically, they probably knew that because they knew that she was pregnant. She was expecting in July. They didn't give a message then. Okay. They didn't say anything in August. And literally in September, we had a party, and obviously we didn't invite them because they were not in talking terms. We had a party, and I invited my mom, and that's enough of the story. I obviously got in touch with my mom last year. After 15 years, I got in touch with her. I invited her. I invited my grandma. I invited my uncle and whatnot, and my aunt and stuff like that from my mom's side, and everybody was there. That that knew us. Um, and when one place of news spreads to another, people eventually find out. So someone I think posted some pictures on Instagram and whatnot, and my dad's side of the family, my dad found out, and days later, my dad messages me and says, "Kiddo, I hope you and your family are well. It would be nice if you can send me a picture of my granddaughter." For the first time in my life, I didn't give a shit. I just deleted that shit right away. I'm like, if this man was not appreciative for what I did for him or what I was trying to do for him, it was not respectful to my wife, who was actually the mother of my kid, who did not give a fuck during my wedding times or my hard times, who made me suffer when I was a young man. If he literally does not even give a shit, even ask about my wife, how she's doing, then fuck this guy. I deleted the message and I made a promise to myself that my child now is not going to go through the same thing that I went through. And I'm going to make sure that I give her the best life possible within my means and what my abilities is. And basically, this is how I survived and I became who I am. I literally had to fend for myself. I learned from other people. People advised me. I'm still obviously learning the game of life, obviously. But the biggest thing that I've learned is you need to be comfortable in your own skin. And the day that you're comfortable in your own skin, you'll be able to do anything. And I learned this in the hard way, the longest way. But I wanted to share this story with you. And I hope that this story motivates you and gives you hope if anybody's going through something similar or a hard situation, that this shall pass. These tough times shall pass. Obviously, good times pass too, but not all times remain the same. And especially bad times, tough times, they're not going to remain like that. At one point, it's going to pass and it's going to be over. Um, Anyways, I thank you so much for tuning in, listening about my story, quick story about my life, of how I survived, how after being kicked out at 18 and what has happened today. I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying streaming. I'm enjoying doing all this content and whatnot as well. Um, and I love it. I love it. I'm thankful for all the people in my life. And one thing is for sure, the doors are now going to be sealed and shut. No one's going to be coming back again. Um, and that's just the way it is right now. So yeah. And it's going to be like this forever. I made a promise to myself. I said to myself, listen, um, whatever happens, even, I know like people have to go, they have to die, they have to pass away, but I'll do my own basic rights that I need to do. But I don't want to be involved with my dad's side of the family, my brother and whatnot as well, because they don't care about me. So why should I reciprocate or do the opposite of what they're doing to me? So it makes no damn sense. Um, Anyways, I thank you once again. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you like this content, if you like this video, um, you know, and if you have any even similar stories, feel free to share it in the comment section. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.